Good morning, it's me, Andrej. This time from Portugal, I recommend this country to everyone, especially Lisbon, which is the strangest city I've ever had the chance to visit. And I think I'll be checking out that strangeness later this evening. But we're here because of this motorcycle, the Husqvarna Svartpilen 701. I will tell you what Svartpilen means in Afrikaans, the language used in South Africa. But you know what? I'll write it for you in the newspaper, because it's you'll see. I can't say it right now. Anyway, I have experience with a Svartpilen 701 from previous years. You know that. No, actually that was the Vitpilen back then, the one with the narrow handlebars. This one is the Svartpilen with the high handlebars. And back then, I just didn't feel like riding that motorcycle because the riding position was okay, it looked cool, but it was so uncomfortable for me because of the low handlebars that I barely used it. What I remember from back then is that despite its modern and quite unusual appearance, I actually felt like I was riding an old motorcycle. You know, because it's a single-cylinder engine from the 690, from the LC4, that old 640. Those were the old days. And it still runs a bit like a threshing machine. A lot of metallic, various funny sounds come from it because it's a huge single cylinder, and that's just how it's supposed to sound. Surprisingly, the sound is different than in the 690S. It's somehow meatier, somehow more pleasant. And it doesn't matter what kind of exhaust it has, whether it's an Akrapovic or not, because I think with Euro 4 and soon Euro 5, the Akrapovic doesn't make much sense, but combined with a quick shifter, it sometimes made this motorcycle sound truly brilliant. You know what I mean? When I was riding that Vitpilen back then, I thought to myself, what a funny vibe this creates, because it really feels like you're riding an old motorcycle and you have to feather the clutch a bit because, you know, it's one big cylinder. So in first and second gear at low revs, you have to work the clutch a little. You need to know how to ride it a bit. I thought to myself, but it's actually kind of funny. It's just that later my wrist started to hurt and I stopped riding it. Here it's completely different because the riding position is finally normal. Well, actually, no, it's not normal, it's comfortable. And its abnormality lies in the fact that the handlebar is like a flat track handlebar. You know, wide handlebars are just wide. Flat track handlebar is bent a bit towards you in your direction, and you get on. I get on and say, oh, what a funny ride. But this also adds to the atmosphere of those earlier motorcycles, because back in the day, that's exactly the kind of handlebars we had on almost all bikes. Especially those early scramblers and motocross bikes, the very ones from which this Husqvarna descends. Because let's remember that Husqvarna, if I recall correctly, it's even displayed here on the gauges, yes, pioneering since 1903. I won't say it in English, because I'll just get tongue-tied. Husqvarna is one of the first motorcycle manufacturers in the world, and they've gone through all the stages. And now you sit on this motorcycle with handlebars that make you feel a bit like you're back in the old days. The engine makes you feel like you've traveled back in time. And at that moment, you think to yourself, oh, you rascals! They came up with a good slogan, which I can't remember at the moment. But overall, it suggests that this motorcycle is meant to evoke old memories. Those memories from when we, as kids, were fascinated by motorcycles for the first time. And despite how it looks, trust me, when you get on this motorcycle and ride it for a while, you really get that feeling. Peer, 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 peer. It rattles a bit, it sputters a bit, but the moment you rev it up to medium and high RPMs, it suddenly turns out to be a modern machine, because the pull on this thing is truly impressive. Remember, I tested the KTM 690, and this is the same engined linear for a single, which, unlike before, doesn't have such an aggressive low end, but still has a pretty strong, super flexible and powerful mid-range. And surprisingly, it also has top end power, meaning you can rev it high and the power just keeps coming. I even got up to 200 kilometers per hour on this motorcycle today, which is really an amazing achievement for a single cylinder engine. And I think it could have kept going and going even further. Apart from the fantastic engine, which does a lot of cool things when you twist the throttle. I have to admit that both the suspension and the brakes are really a step forward into the 21st century, because not only does the suspension handle small bumps very well, but also big ones, and it sticks to the road incredibly well. It's a combination of the suspension and the frame, because this frame is the same as in the Husqvarna Supermoto, for example, the 700 one. This makes the motorcycle not only light since it weighs just under 160 kilos, but also, in some amazing way, generates a huge amount of grip in the corners. It's also about the tires, because these Pirellis, even though they have a bit of a knobby tread, grip like crazy. You dive into corners and you can lean it over like on a Supermoto, so under yourself, or just lean it over in the usual way. And you always have the confidence that these tires will hold, and if they do let go, they'll do it in a predictable way. But that's not just thanks to the tires, it's really the whole chassis that's designed for fast cornering. It's honestly hard to find a better motorcycle. I'm talking about those, corners on the road where grip isn't always predictable. I'm talking about asphalt and things like that. What else? The brakes are just as good. A single disc up front is more than enough. The ABS works great, and what I like is that the electronics here are pretty straightforward. There are no riding modes to play with, and the ABS isn't adjustable. Unfortunately, you also can't turn off the ABS, because that's a new regulation for 2019. But here, fortunately, the fuse box is closed by. Look, I've just pulled it out. There you go, there you go. All you have to do is remove a single fuse like this, and the ABS will be gone, and you can enjoy that. It might be a bit inconvenient to do this while driving, but at worst, we'll just stop for a moment. Traction control not only lets you slide a little, but sometimes even allows you to lift the wheel a bit. For those people who don't feel too confident riding on the rear wheel yet, but want to experience that feeling from time to time, if you already know how to ride on the rear wheel, and I'm coming back to this because honestly that was the main theme of today on this motorcycle, since I enjoy it. There were a lot of people here who also enjoy it. There was even one guy here who's famous for riding on the rear wheel on an enduro bike and wins all the hard enduro competitions in the world, and I think he liked it too. What's up? Do you want to have a picture with me? Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I know. I'm not really good at that. You're the wheelie king. Yeah, no, you're the wheelie king. Well, yeah, when it comes to fun, this machine is the number one for that. What I don't like about this machine, there are two things I don't like. I mean, in the Loom machine, there's one thing I don't like: the gauges, which are just hideously ugly and ruin my view all day today. I don't know, maybe they ordered too many of them. I don't know where. I don't know. I hope at least in India, but maybe even in China. The gauges are terrible. The second thing I don't like is that we didn't get a chance to ride on gravel today and have some fun with this motorcycle, because it's clearly going to enjoy riding on gravel roads. There's an 18-inch wheel in the front, so bumps won't be a problem for it. And you can feel with this motorcycle that it just wants to go there. I'd say something more, but I think I'm already talking for too long. I'll write a full review of this motorcycle. I'll describe its history, maybe even a bit of Husqvarna's history, because it's very interesting and turbulent. But I think that despite everything, even though it was bought by KTM, it turned out to be only good for the brand. Because motorcycles like the Svartpilen 701 and what they're preparing for the coming years will only bring more fun for us motorcyclists. Seriously, I really like these machines. Man, just like so many others this year. I have no idea how I'm going to decide which motorcycle will be my favorite for 2019. I'm just gonna go completely crazy. Best regards to you all. You can read more in the magazine. Bye.